Do you ever just like sit there and realize that you're the problem? You know what I mean? You caused it. This is all your fault, you know? I had that the other day. I sat down on the toilet seat, there's piss all over it. I live alone. I see why she left me. I miss her so much. I found that I have a very woman-like sexuality, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like to know my part, like a connection, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an oven, not a microwave. And I always wondered, what is that called? I didn't know, so I looked it up. Turns out it's called erectile dysfunction. It's been hard. No, it hasn't. It's why she left, actually. Fun fact. Beginning of last year, I briefly dated a 45-year-old. We broke up because she was 45 fucking years old. I didn't mind the age gap at first, but one time she said, look at Macaulay Culkin, and I'm like, no thanks, you know? I don't want to be home alone with you anymore, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's like, oh no, man, I'm talking like Macaulay Culkin like now, but it's like, if I said you look like an age-progressed Joan Bennett Ramsey, you're not going to be, okay. Throwing that tag out, it's okay. I went to emo night a couple months back. They checked all of our wrists at the door. It was really, I met the woman of my dreams there, fun fact, you know. She was a satanic bodybuilder. You know what that means? She had been practicing demon retention. That joke took 9 fucking months to write. I just want to let you guys know. Spent a lot of time writing that one over a hot stove and you fuckers gave it nothing, you know? We had to break up because she kept asking me to pay for dates, which I didn't mind. I just didn't like that I was never invited. That felt kind of rude. I think the only thing worse than American health care is American death care. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should never legalize medically assisted suicide. That would be an awful idea. Like, imagine paying $100,000 to kill yourself at a Walmart. You know, and you get into the pod, and you're about to finally rest and escape this life of yours, and the last thing you see is a Taco Bell quesarito commercial. Start banging outside the door, like, let me out! And they say, no refunds, pull me back in! My grandmother slipped in the shower, and she was sanitized from the neck down. I felt really bad for her at her funeral because the food was really good. Like, can you imagine being one-upped by a ham and cheese sandwich, you know? With the fucking Dijon? Those pickles were to die for, that's all I'm saying, you know? Funny enough, she was cremated at Cook's funeral home, which I felt was pretty inappropriate. I'm gonna toast my grandmother, but not my sandwich? I don't get it. My parents got a very large inheritance. I did not get a large inheritance. But it's weird seeing how much they changed afterwards, because I found out my parents actually love each other. We were just poor the whole time, you know? My grandfather was a pastor, my dad was a pastor, and I'm a stand-up comedian. So it's 3 generations of white dorks saying lies into a microphone. That's all it is.
I'm really excited to be here tonight. This is actually the highlight of my week. Sad, right? Like, you guys are great. My life just sucks. Like, before this, the highlight of my week was actually these shoelaces. Oh, almost fell there. I don't know if you guys can see them in the back, but they're a hot pink. I bought them because I wanted to add a pop of color to whatever the hell I have going on. But they're not the highlight anymore because I had just laced them up and wasn't even 2 steps out the door when my girlfriend hyped up with, wow, you're brave. Now, I'm not brave. I need her to kill the spiders for me. I am an idiot. So I asked her, what do you mean brave? And she's like, aren't you afraid of being bullied or called gay? old. I haven't been worried about being bullied for at least 6 months. And we've been dating long enough that she knows anytime I meet any of her friends for the first time, within half an hour they're turning to her and going, "Are you sure he likes girls?" But it's the shoelaces that got her worried. Not the fact that I told her my grandma used to pull me out of middle school to take me to go to see musicals. And I loved them. Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was amazing and full of color. Or the fact that she saw me open-mouth kiss another man on our second date. But it's the shoelaces that got her worried. So I told her no, I'm not worried about being bullied or called gay, because I'm comfortable with my sexuality. So then I grabbed my purse and I skipped out the door.
I'm happy to be anywhere that my children are not. I'm a father of 4. How many parents we got in here? Make some noise if you got some kids. Oh yeah. Surprised you even have the energy to fucking clap at this point. Anyway, at least one of you guys in here had kids because I saw them sitting in a minivan in the parking lot. So, thanks for not bringing them in and shitting on our fun. They looked little, they're not cool, you know. I've got older kids, and here's the bonus to having older kids, you guys, is I've got a 16-year-old son and an 18-year-old son, and I can just legally leave them wherever the fuck I want to. I could just leave them, you know what I mean? No trouble getting out to me. My 18-year-old son, he was getting into an argument with me, right? And we're going back and forth, and I just was like, fuck this, and I left him in Florida. Yes. I just bounced, right? I was 10 minutes into my drive back to Michigan, my son texted me, he goes, "What just happened?" I go, "You just fucked around and found out. That's what just happened, son." That was 3 months ago. He's settled in, he's married, he's got 3 kids down there, he's just learned how to speak Spanish, he's doing well. He's adapting, I'm very proud of that. I don't know, man. I come up with a dad that was kind of a weird cat. Like, my dad tried to give me advice geologically sometimes. I remember one time he was telling me, he was like, "Oh, there's one thing you need to know about the people in Grand Rapids." And I was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "All they like to do is they just like to smoke their weed, they like to get drunk, and they like to fuck." Right? That's what my dad said. This guy gets it, right? But I remember just looking at my dad like, why would you tell a 4-year-old that? Fucking weird. Go get some cigarettes, don't come back. You know? I don't need that shit. My dad did leave though, on a lighter note. My dad was gone for 10 years of my life when I was growing up. And there was a point with my dad where he actually said, like, now we're cool. Me and my dad are friends. My dad is like one of my biggest fans. But there was a point where I started doing stand-up comedy, and my dad was like, "You ever think that because I took off for that 10 years, that's why, you know, you got this whole good comedy thing going on?" So you ever think that shaped you into the man that you are today? I was like, I'm a mediocre comic with 4 kids. I don't think you shaped much of shit to the good. I was like, you ever think that maybe if you stuck around, I'd actually be doing theaters instead of bowling alleys in Grand Rapids? You ever think that? You ever think that maybe I was 4 hugs away from being a white Kevin Hart? You ever have that idea? I don't know. My dad's a big time one-upper. We got any of those hardship one-uppers in here? You guys don't know what I'm talking about? He patted on his shoulder. He's like, "That's this guy." That's the guy. No matter how hard you fucking work, that guy's worked that much harder. He's the dude, man. I remember when I started junior high, and I was complaining. This was like right before my dad jetted out. I was complaining because I'm like, I gotta walk 1.5 miles to school. This is gonna suck so bad. My dad was like, "That ain't shit." He was like, "I had to walk 6 miles. There was 4 of us. I had to constantly take care of the other fucking 3, and he's like, and it always snowed a quarter of an inch every morning on our trip, and he's like, well, I had one coat to share amongst the 4 of us. He's just like layering it up, right? Like it's a fucking salad, just 7 layers of guilt, you know? And I was like, dude, you were homeschooled on a farm, my man. Get out of here with that bullshit. You had to walk from your bedroom to grandma's kitchen. Go fuck yourself. Play that game. I feel bad for my son, man, because this is just layers upon generations of one-uppers that my kids have to deal with. My son recently started middle school, and his complaint was, he just recently started high school, and his complaint was, I gotta get up and super early, and I gotta wait 10 minutes for the bus to come pick me up. And I'm just like, I'm gonna wait for this motherfucking moment, right? I was like, that ain't shit, man. I had to get up early as hell. I had to walk 1.5 miles. No, so my dad was over there because we were doing this big family dinner. My dad's got to chime in, right? He's like, that ain't nothing. I had that. I'm like, no, your story's bullshit. You know? Go somewhere with your one up. And then I thought it was done, right? No, so my uncle wheels in this like old like classroom style TV with a VCR, and he pops a tape in, right? And it's my grandpa, and he's like, I've been waiting for this moment. You think that's hard? He's like, I had to walk 18 miles uphill to the top of Mount Everest. Then got a parachute, a fucking 1 shoe, and a buck knife. He's like, we all had schizophrenia. One of us died every trip. And I was like, he won, pause that shit. This is getting sad. I don't know, I'm glad you guys like that. I wrote it just for him. I was like, I need a hard-working man joke for this, for this set I'm about to do. I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. I took my dad on the road with me not too long ago. And it was a funny story because I got booked to do some gigs in Alaska. It was the farthest I was ever going to be traveling to do stand-up comedy. And my dad was super pumped, right? It's Alaska. My dad said this verbatim, you guys. My dad said, oh, I'd love to go with you. I've never been to Canada. I was like, how the fuck are you still alive? So I took him with me. We're flying, right? He's looking down and he goes, are we in Alaska yet? I'm like, no, that's Canada. He goes, so we're close. Oh, shit. So we get there, right? And we've got some time to kill. It's going to be the last show. We've got some time to kill after the show before we board a plane to go back to Michigan. And I said, hey, man, are you hungry? Because the food at the airport is expensive as shit. And my dad was like, yeah, a little bit. And I was like, all right. I go, where do you want to go? And my dad was like, I don't know, I'm not being picky. And I go, what do you want to eat? What are you in the mood for? He goes, I'm just in the mood for food, I'm hungry, right? And I'm like, all right. So I take him to a Burger King because it's close, you know. We get into the Burger King, I order my food, my dad's standing at the register, he's looking up at the menu and he goes, you guys have spaghetti here by chance? I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? She goes, do we look like we have spaghetti? And I told him I was going to go to the bathroom, and I left him in fucking Anchorage. He texted me on the flight home. He was like, what just happened? I was like, you fucked around and found out. That's what just happened, baby girl. I don't know. Comedy's a weird gig to get into. You do it for the money, right? But every once in a while, you get put into a weird predicament. I recently got into a show where I was working off like the barter system. This guy got a hold of me, he wanted to do a big party, and I was like, all right, you know, usually this is my fee. And he goes, how about I give you 2 ounces of weed and 17 pounds of ham? And I was like, you throw in a chicken and your daughter and we'll fucking do this. I'm getting old. I'm in my 40s, man. I'm 43 years old now. I remember back in my 20s, it was crazy. I felt like I was indestructible, man. It was like I couldn't hurt my body for nothing. Now I'm 43, man. The other day, I was standing in my kitchen, and I farted, and I threw my fucking back out. I was just laying on the kitchen floor like, I wish I had one of those little BP necklaces. Suddenly the ambulance come knocking at my door, they helped themselves in. I was like, how did you know? And they were like, your neighbor said it sounded like there was an elderly woman screaming through your kitchen window. I was like, thank you, Gary. I don't know, man. I recently got noticed for doing stand-up comedy, which is kind of crazy. I wasn't even in Michigan. I was in Boise, Idaho, right? And I had done a gig there like a year ago. And I was killing time before a show, and I walked into a Walmart. And this guy goes, oh my God, I know you. And I was like, oh, do you do? And he goes, yeah, you do stand-up comedy, don't you? And I was like, oh yeah, I do. And he goes, oh, we watched you at the such and such club about a year ago. You were so funny. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I'm not gonna lie, like I was kind of like starstruck type of thing, you know what I mean? And it was so great. And then all of a sudden, you know, like they leaned in, you know, this person leans in and gives me a hug and a kiss. And I was like, dude was kind of weird, but I'm not gonna lie, I like the compliments, you know what I mean? It was nice. Anybody here watch The Wiggles? Used to? It was your kids, wasn't it? If you just sat down with other grown-ups and watched The Wiggles, you should be out in public. Like, that's weird as shit. You kids, man. I got a granddaughter, and we're watching The Wiggles now. Did you guys know this? There's this guy on the show, The Wiggles. His name's Jeff. He's got this thing where every once in a while on the show, he'll just fall asleep, right? During the show. And then they do a big song and dance. And they're like, wake up, Jeff. Dee-dee-dee-dee. Wake up, Jeff. You know, and it's adorable, right? My granddaughter loves it, you know. Well, here's the funny thing is, Jeff, the character on The Wiggles, actually fell asleep at the wheel one time. Yeah, so he's a method actor. We went there, thank you. Thank you for going on that ride. I was worried that someone was going to turn on me. That's not funny. I used to have this bit that I used to do where I said, my wife doesn't like the fact that I have to drive late at night to do stand-up comedy. Because, you know, when you're driving late at night, it's easy to just kind of nod off at the wheel. And I was like, I look at it like this, right? Like you always hear about people talking about how, oh, you know, he died doing what he loves, you know? Died doing what he loves. And I'm not necessarily referring to comedy here, you guys. Honestly, I would die doing two things I love if I nodded off at the wheel. And that would be sleeping and driving fast. You know what I mean? Driving fast. I did a show one time and I said that, and the guy, he's playing on his phone the whole show. He gets up as soon as I say that, he goes, my grandpa died falling asleep at the wheel. And the whole crowd just seizes up, similar to what you guys are doing right now, right? And I had no clue what to do. I was like, oh shit, this just got weird, right? And this was my response. I go, do you like to sleep? You know? Oh, cut that full. Cut that full. My brother was going to come out tonight. He did not. Because it's, I guess it's like a 4-hour bike ride for him to get here, and he's one of those people that rides a bike everywhere he goes. I'm happy he's not here, to be honest, you guys, because I don't like hanging out with my brother because of the fact that he rides a bike. Like, if you want to ride a bike, right? Ride a bike, ride the shit out of a bike. The problem with my brother is he's one of those people that wants to be all uppity about riding a bike, you know? Like, you'd be hanging out with them and someone would be like, hey, who's that, whose Huffy is that out there? And my brother would be like, oh, that's mine. And he'd be like, you know, I'm just trying to do my part, you know? Wishing people would follow my lead. Or he'll say shit like, I'm just trying to lower carbon emissions, you know, one step at a time. And I'm always just sitting there like, dude, like, you're not some Captain Planet out, like, cleaning up parts and shit. You're just a dude with 2 DUIs, you know? There's a big difference between a hero and an asshole, you know? I like that she stayed silent. She's like, I got e-bikes. Has he got a nice bike? We can kick it. I don't know, man. I'll do one more and then I'll boogie woogie out of here. You guys have been so much fun so far. Now give it up for yourselves for coming out, you guys. Give it up for all the comics that you saw here tonight. James was up here. I've worked with him a couple times. Fun fact about James, you guys. I watched that dude eat a hot dog before a show without chewing whatsoever. I damn near asked him out on a date. I was like, he already knew I was into kissing fellas in a Walmart parking lot. I come from a weird stock. I guess that would be the best way to put it. I was raised by a single mom for about 10 years. And my mom had only a couple of rules. But if you did not follow those rules, you received like the worst mental punishment that the whole world could dish out. I remember one of my mom's rules when I was growing up, you guys, was she didn't want you to sleep naked in her house. I remember way back in the day I asked her about it. I was like, well, why? And she was like, because. She like sat me down, right? She's like, because. She goes, because if there's ever an emergency in the middle of the night and you have to get out of the house, you may not have time to put your pajamas on. She goes, so you have to ask yourself, are you willing to stand out at the sidewalk in the middle of the neighborhood with no clothes on? And I remember looking at her and going, that's a pretty good point, you know what I mean? I'm not really willing to do that, you know? But then all of a sudden I remember it was this one August night, it was like 109 degrees. I get out of the shower, I look at my pajamas and I'm like, no, not tonight, pajamas. Not tonight, right? I go down into my room and I climb up into my cold crisp sheets and the fan's blowing on me and I feel the best that I have in like the whole summer, fall right asleep. About 2:30 in the morning, you guys, my mom comes running into my bedroom and she's yelling at the top of her lungs, get up, get up! I'm like, ugh. I sit up, I make sure I'm still covered, you know, and I'm like, what's going on? My mom goes, the house is on fire, we gotta get out right now! I rub my eyes and I'm like, okay, let me put my pajamas on. She goes, there's no fucking time, we gotta go! She grabs my arm, she rips me from my sheets and blankets, she rushes me out of the house into the front yard, where at the sidewalk there's 20 of my closest friends and family standing, pointing and laughing at me. I look at my mom, at this point I'm already starting to get kind of teary-eyed, right? I go, what's happening? My mom goes, I'm trying to teach you a point, boy. I go, what is it? Is it about my jammies? I go, yeah, you ever gonna not sleep with your jammies again? I go, no, not never. She was like, all right, I'm gonna hang out here with these guys, I'm gonna have a beer, I'm gonna smoke some weed, I'm gonna talk shit about you for a little while. She was going into the house, get your jammies on, go back to sleep. I went into the house and I'm kicking rocks, and mad, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm sad. I put my pajamas back on, I fall back asleep, you guys. And the very next morning, I ended up moving the fuck out. Because you shouldn't be treating a 32-year-old man like that. I've been Tim Locke, you guys have been a lot of fun.
My name is Eileen. I'm a teacher. Give it up for teachers, because that's a hard job, right? It's not easy. In fact, I'm thinking of leaving the profession. In fact, the other day I decided that was going to be my last day of teaching, sober. I meet a lot of people who think teachers should just know everything about everything. And I met this guy and he asked me, he said, do you know, what did our country use before there was a constitution? What document did our country use? Does anyone know? Either did I. It's it's the Acts of Confederation or something like that. And he's like, how come you don't know that? You're a teacher, you should know that. And I said, dude, I teach kindergarten. You have no idea what my days are like. I have no use for the Articles of Confederation. If I could get 24 kids to the bathroom on time, that's a win for me. If I could get those same 24 kids to sit on a carpet without killing each other, another big win for me. If I could get one of those kids to accept a broken candy cane without losing their shit, huge win for me. That's kindergarten. Kindergarten, they can't keep their hands off me. They don't walk in a straight line. They poop, they pee, they cry all at the same time, all while telling some crazy ass story. Kindergarten feels like I'm running an AA meeting with an open bar. In the middle of the afternoon, they pass out. I even feel like a bouncer when I'm talking to them. I say things like, "Get off of her." Or, "Where's your ride? You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here." You know? I also have some experience with preschool. Anybody have any preschool age kids? Nice, okay. Stop sending them to school smelling like weed. There's always at least one kid who comes to school smelling overwhelmingly like weed. I have a name for that kid, Lucky. I'm serious, they come in, their little backpacks smell like weed, their blankets smell like weed. It fills up the classroom, and then that smell wafts out to the hallway of the school and kind of just stays there in this weed haze. So I decided to use it as a point of reference. So you're trying to find a preschool, take this hallway. When you get to the smell of purple kush, you've made it, you're there. You have to know that as a teacher, I don't want you to send your kid to school smelling like weed. I know, it's just another reminder of something wonderful I can no longer afford. Weed. I have weed envy. If you send your kid to school with an apple for me, I'm going to carve it into a bomb. I was trying to teach geometry to these little kids the other day, and I said, so look around the classroom and try and find some shapes, like if you see a circle, like the clock, or maybe the window looks like a square. And this kid, Joey, said, I found a rectangle. And I said, great, Joey, what did you find? He goes, your butt. Your butt looks like a rectangle. That was a low point for me. Because either I'm terrible at teaching, or my ass looks like a rectangle. Or both. I have different experiences with parents too. I had a parent accuse me of eating all the snacks in the classroom. I'm like, seriously? I mean, they were delicious. I didn't eat them all. Yes, that's true. It had been a long time since I ate a whole box of goldfish. But in my defense, there's a weed haze in my school. So what do you want? You know what I mean?